Hey, it's Ed. Welcome to Lessons from My Mentor. This one is called Should I Stay or Should I Go? A song made popular by The Clash back in the 80s, one of my favorite concert experiences. So we gotta stay or should I go? So this is one of the most common questions that I get. And in fact, I got this yesterday. So it just reminded me to cover this as part of Lessons from My Mentor. This comes from the early mid 90s. So I was just starting my career in IT, Parkview Episcopal Medical Center, and I was starting to get offers from around the country. It was like this new concept to me, because I'd struggled, my history, like working factory jobs and janitor and trying to make a living. And, I was just now starting on this journey and I was getting these offers and I was trying to figure out how to vet them. Do I stay or should I go? And so I've sort of formulated a philosophy based on my lesson from my mentor. And then obviously as I grew myself in my career and then offered some advice, and I'll put it in the show notes. I wrote a blog on this called Should I Stay or Should I Go? And so what I'm going to speak about is reflective of what's in that blog, because that's what I usually use when I help people sort of work through this. Because a lot of times they'll be like, they're trying to become CIO or they're already CIO and they're like vetting this new CIO opportunity. I think some of these things are pretty well thought out after a while going through this. And I know that another concept that I developed along the way was go to grow. And so that'll play heavy in what I'm about to share with you. So here are like 6 or 7 things to think about when you're thinking about it. And a lot of times in the new year, right? You kind of think about, should I stay or should I go? I've been with my organization for a long time. I'm getting other offers. I'm getting recruited. Should I look? Or I'm not getting offers, but should I look? So one is the challenge. Now some people love not being challenged. And if you're wired that way, good for you. I'm not, a lot of leaders aren't. You're looking for that challenge. And after a while, the challenge sort of runs out. And I'm here to tell you, and I know there's exceptions, but I always say 5 years max. And I have some friends, and I'm not going to call them out because that's their personal thing and they would need to share with you, but they're wired similarly. And you just look at their career and when you see the changes made, some of them are on 4 year. They believe in a 4 year change. I was more of a 5 year person. So there are studies that show that your first 2 years, you're learning the organization, especially if you're in a big organization. It's taken a while just to find out how to get from point A to point B, taking a couple of years. So your maximum effectiveness is 2 to 5 years. So you finally figured out the organization, you built your team, and you've got this 3 years of just knocking it out of the park, super challenge. After 5 years, there's diminishing returns. This happens for a variety of reasons. One, we get super comfortable. It's like we figured it out. We got things rolling, trains run on time, doing some cool things. Things kind of settle down. It's like, oh, this is groovy. I like balance, it's easy. But if you're wired for challenge, you get kind of bored. I was doing sort of 8 year. My average, if I had to boil it down, is probably 5. But I definitely had a couple of 8 year runs, which were really important for me. But if I look back on those times, I could certainly see that, sort of after 5 years, things, because you're good at it, what you're doing now. You got that good team, you built them up, they're running things. Yeah, you're doing some cool things along the way. I'm not saying you're not doing anything, but it's kind of going down. You want that new challenge, like, okay, I want to rebuild. Like that was my thing. It's like I loved rebuilding. Although sometimes I took a role I didn't think I was going to have to rebuild. Oh my gosh, it was a rebuild that I did not anticipate. So that's like a challenge. I want to rebuild or I want to create digital transformation, the strategy for this organization. Those are cool. Like those are challenges. So that's one thing. If you're not being challenged anymore, it's time to go. All right, that's number one. Number two, and these aren't in any particular order. Life balance. Yeah, there's going to be organizations that chew you up, and that's the culture of the organization. And you're not going to be that one person that lives it differently. So you're going to be an organization where everyone's like, they don't care as much about the family side, personal side. They're like all about the business. And if you're in that culture, there's, like I said, it's going to be hard for you to carve out your own little, like, yeah, you're all like that, but I'm not, because it's too much pressure, the culture, they'll chew you up. and it won't be good. It won't be healthy. So if you're in a situation where you're not getting that life balance that you're looking for, life integration, then it's time to go. All right. Compensation. That's another pretty significant one. Sometimes what happens, and this certainly happened to me, and again, I don't want to name organizations, but it happened to me, and it probably happens to many of you. Oftentimes, when you become a CIO or you get to that next level within the same organization, they're going to have rules, and their rules are typically, we'll give you a 10% raise. So I'm going to make up the number here, but let's just say you're $100,000, and the role, you're going to be a vice president, and their rule is 10%, but maybe because they're really feeling giving, they're going to give you 20%, so it's 120. But if they went to the outside, it would be 150. And you get stuck in that. And I had that happen one time. I became the CIO, and I was happy for the 10% raise. I'm no complaints. I knew it going in. I'm not going to complain about it. I knew it going in. But after about 3 years, when I finally got, because people fed into me and I was growing and listening and learning, I got pretty good. And I'm like this pretty decent CIO working in again, I can't get specific, but great organization. And if they would have recruited a CIO from the outside, they would be paying 2 or 3x. And I knew my value had gone up, but they weren't recognizing that value. And what I should have done is a different lesson. Should have said something, and I didn't. I was the type to be like, well, if you recognize it, you'll give it to me. I'm not going to ask for it. Because that's kind of weird. It's like, hey, I think you should pay me twice as much. It's just not who I am. But I understand that's probably what I should have done. So I got recruited. I wasn't looking, but I got recruited. And sure enough, they were paying 2x of what I was making. And a great challenge, a great opportunity. So it's like, okay, I took it. And then, of course, my company was like, Ed, we didn't know. Here's 3x. Here's 3x plus we're going to give you all of revenue cycle. I mean, it was crazy, and I felt so bad. But one of my tenets is never to accept counteroffers and never give counteroffers. So I left the organization. But compensation is an important one. But the lesson there: don't do what I did. I should have said something, and I didn't. Next is loyalty. So I'm sort of the type of personality, when I'm serving an organization, I'm all in to the point that, so I'll probably lose part of my audience here, but I have a lot of tattoos, and I'm so loyal to my organizations. Not that this is a sign of loyalty, but for me it is, because it's part of my story. So my story is written on my body in tattoos. And so every organization that I've served, the logo is on my body. I mean, I am all in, and I will be the fighter for that organization. And if that's not reciprocated, if you're not getting the same sort of commitment from your organization that you're giving them, it's time to go. So that's another indicator. Now, I'm giving you like 6 or 7. And so there may not be like big, like it may be the loyalty factor, maybe just a little bit disloyal, or maybe just a little bit off compensation. But if all those little bits add up, they add up. So it's like take them in whole. But if you don't feel a sense of loyalty, if you have the sense that they would drop you in a minute, that's not a good feeling, a good feeling of reciprocation. So it's not like you're deserving, anyone is deserving of a guarantee for life, like you're guaranteed a role as long as you're alive. I'm not saying that, but I think you can tell when a company's not loyal to you, or there's significant factions of leadership within that organization that do not have your best interest in mind. So that's what I mean by loyalty. And I certainly have been in one of those situations. And again, I can't get into specifics. Everyone probably deals with something similar at some point at some organization, but there were definitely people who did not want me there. And that's where you get the sense of disloyalty. It's like, man, I'm giving everything. I'm building this great team. We're doing great things for the organization, for the community. So you got to have that respect back. And if you don't, that's another good sign. And then those are really it. Those are I think I just covered 5 pretty big ones. And then the important thing, and maybe for another time too, is the art of saying goodbye. I think I will save that for another time, but it just cracks me up on LinkedIn. People are like, hey, they announcing the same thing. Hey, I'm leaving XYZ, starting ABC. I'm so excited about ABC. And I'm thinking, my gosh, you just spent 8 years, 5 years at XYZ, and that's all that's all the respect that you're showing them in your leaving is you like, thank you, XYZ, but I'm so excited about ABC. It's like that is so wrong on so many levels. I think you need to separate the two. I'll talk about that some other time. But anyways, I hope that's helpful. Should I stay or should I go? And okay, here's my last thing I'm going to tell you. Most often than not, you should go. I think there's far too many people that have stayed far too long in far too many organizations. And that's one thing that stifles both that person and that organization. I know that's harsh to hear. And I know there's exceptions. And so again, I'll probably lose a couple friends over this. But, if you're in the same organization for too long, you're way too soft. You're way too, in it. And you're not challenging yourself to get to the next level and therefore the organization. And it's same within the organization. If they're surrounded, I'm so proud. The average tenure of our C-suite is 20 years. I'm like, geez, I want to see the results. I want to see your outcomes on that. Again, I know there's exceptions, and I know there's beautiful people that have been 25 years as a CIO at the same organization, and they reinvent themselves every year, do amazing things better than anyone else, better than if they left. I know that's true. I do. But I'm saying on average, go to grow. And then wherever you go with all those different experiences makes you that much stronger and that much more valuable. The important thing is not to leave too early. All right. I think I said enough. Thanks for being part of Lessons from My Mentor. I hope it's helpful.